Yay. I have to do the vote and the whole thing.
We'll call tonight's meeting of the ASCC of August 26th to order. Can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Chung?
Here.
Commissioner Dixon? Here. Vice Chair Flynn?
Here.
Chair Ward?
Here.
Commissioner Breen has not joined yet.
Okay. First item for tonight is the oral communications. This is where persons wishing to address the ASCC on a subject not on tonight's agenda can do so. Please note that the ASCC will not be able to undertake an extended discussion or action tonight on items that are not on tonight's agenda. Is anyone here in the room or online that has something? Janice here. Can you promote her?
There she is.
Okay. So, unfortunately, Commissioner Breen was not able to attend in person tonight. Commissioner Breen is requesting to attend remotely under new Brown Act meeting provisions AB 2449, which allow for remote attendance due to emergency circumstances. Emergency circumstances is defined as a physical or family medical emergency that prevents a council member from attending the council meeting in person. Commissioner Breen, can you say something about your personal emergency, please?
I've had recent ankle replacement surgery and was in the ER 2 nights ago all night. So I'm back though.
Okay. So staff and the attorney has advised that it's permissible as long as the commission takes a vote and agrees that these circumstances qualify. In addition, AB 2449 requires that a quorum of the commission attend in person and that Commissioner Breen attend via video and audio technology. May I entertain a motion to allow Commissioner Breen to attend remotely due to her personal emergency?
I move to allow Commissioner.
Is there a second?
I second.
We need to have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Chung?
Yes.
Commissioner Dixon?
Yes.
Vice Chair Flynn?
Yes.
Chair Ward?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Breen, as required by the Brown Act, could you please let us know if there's anyone 18 years of age or older in the room with you?
No, there is not.
Okay. Okay, we can proceed. Now that all votes tonight need to be roll call. Also note that AB 2449 allows for Commissioner Breen to attend up to a maximum of 3 consecutive months remotely. But we need to take a vote for each meeting where she wishes to attend remotely under AB 2449. So now we can move on, with our agenda. Go back to oral communications. Is there anyone that has their hand up or is here in the room that wants to speak to the ASCC for an item that's not on tonight's agenda? No one in the room, no one online. Let's move on to the first item of new business. Which is the architectural review for 3 new signs and a mailbox at 4388 Alpine Road, known as Willow Commons. It's plan arch number 072024. This is a project that I'm the architect for and will be recusing myself. So I'll pass this on to you, as vice chair.
Okay.
Take this on. I'll be outside.
Okay. Is there a presentation from the planning department?
Yeah, we have Jake Garcia as project planner. When you're ready, he can get started.
Yep.
Hey, go ahead, Jake.
Great, thank you.
Can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. Right, well, thank you, Chair. My name is Jake Garcia. I'm a consultant planner for the town. The item before you tonight is for request for design review approval for 3 signs and a mailbox at 4388 Alpine Road. This is also known as Willow Commons. Willow Commons is an affordable supportive housing multifamily residential project that is currently under construction. It is located in the mixed use zoning district, and the ASCC reviewed and approved the project in December of 2021. The project was approved with the condition that the final sign package comes back to the ASCC for design review and approval. The applicant now proposes 3 signs and a mailbox. This slide shows the front of the property that abuts Alpine Road. You'll see the proposed signs and mailbox locations referenced here. I'll start first with the ground sign shown there at the most front portion of the property, and then move on to the ground sign that's located next to the building along with the mailbox. And then I'll end going over the hanging sign there, also located along the front of the main building. The first sign is the ground address sign, which would be located at the left driveway entrance. The sign will be located to the right of that driveway. It is proposed to be 20 inches in height and 2 feet in length. The sign displays the project street number, and the letters are to be 4 inches in height. The sign would consist of natural materials and colors that match the approved building materials and blend in with the natural environment. The sign is proposed to be a natural Watson 1C Akoya material, same as the main resident or the main buildings there, with a stain to match the buildings. A metal trim in a rustic umber finish is proposed, and the letters are proposed in an aspen green color. All colors and materials meet the design guidelines, and not only for the types of materials, but also for the light reflectivity value. This sign also would also have a light strip proposed along with it. It's a recessed downward facing LED strip light 2 feet in length. It's proposed under the rim of the metal fascia and is proposed to be 106 lumens per foot. Since there are 2 feet, it'll be a total of 212 lumens. This is the only light that's being proposed along with this project. Up next is the second ground sign. It's located directly in front of the Willow Commons support building, that frontmost facing building, and it also faces the front of the property, parking lot, and Alpine Road. The sign is located to the right of the main entrance, and it is 24 inches in height and 12 feet in length. The sign displays project housing development name and logo, Willow Commons, and the letters are proposed to be 8 inches in height, and the logo would be 20 inches in diameter. The sign would consist of the same materials as the other proposed sign, and there's no lighting associated with this sign. Also on this slide is the proposed mailbox, which would be located behind the Willow Commons ground sign and to the right of the main building entrance as well. The proposed mailbox is to be a monument style mailbox that's 44 inches in height, 16.2 inches in length, and 18.8 inches in depth. The mailbox is to consist of the same materials as the signs, and there is no lighting proposed with the mailbox. Moving right along to the last of the 3 signs, which is a hanging sign located at the left entrance of the Willow Commons support building. This is where the proposed vocational work training coffee shop is to be located. The sign is attached to the front facade below a roof overhang. The sign is proposed to be 12 inches in height by 18 inches in length. The sign displays the project coffee shop name and logo, common grounds. The letters are proposed to be 1.25 inches in height. The logo would be 7 inches in diameter, and the sign would consist of the same materials as the other signs on site. Notice of the public meeting was mailed to all property owners within a 300-foot radius of the site on August 26th. And since the publication of the staff report, the ASCC has received no public comments for this project. Staff recommends the ASCC review the plans, the staff report, consider public comments, which there are none so far, offer feedback, and approve the proposed project subject to the draft conditions of approval. That's the end of staff presentation. Both the applicant team and staff are available to answer any questions that the ASCC may have. Thank you.
Do commissioners have any questions for the applicant team and the planning department?
I have one. Is the lighting for the sign, is that an affordance specific to the residents of the property? Was that presented as something that was needed because of the unique nature of the property intended occupancy?
There's no specified reason for the lighting on this particular sign. If the applicant team is available to answer that question, they may be able to speak more directly to it. But it would be to essentially identify the location of the building.
Could you come up to the microphone, please? Is it on? You probably have to push a button. There we go.
Hi, I'm Lisa
Thank
Staprons.
you.
I'm one of the project designers, working very closely with Carter, and we created the signage package. I'm a designer here in town. My office is right down the road. We needed, the fire marshal wanted the lighting, and we did LED as quietly as we possibly could, but that was the one requirement they had, that we had to illuminate just that one sign.
Gina, do you have some questions?
Yes. I just have one question. For the street numbers, I was just curious if it seems like there's only the numbers on the one side. Is it on two sides? Or if you're approaching from, I think that's north, how
We
are
have
you
it on both
seeing?
sides.
You
They have
do?
to be able to
Okay.
see it from both directions.
Okay, great.
And then I had a question about the cafe sign. Looking at it, the actual entrance to the cafe is kind of on the other side of the building, it would appear. Is that the case?
No, it's at the front of the building, and so you have the main entrance to the building, and then to the left, we have an entrance into the cafe. And we're putting the sign right outside the cafe door.
Oh, okay. It's not clear on the
Yeah.
the plan that I was provided. And then looking at the image of the actual sign, on page 7, there's a light right next to it, but I don't know if the angle looks a little strange for the picture, but it doesn't seem like the light actually will illuminate the sign somehow.
No, it's not meant, it's only going to be open during daylight hours, and it's not meant to illuminate the sign. And we did a very kind of discreet, quiet barn light, just to have a down light over the door, and it's up higher, and then the sign is next to it. But the idea was this cafe will only be open during daylight hours.
I see. Okay. I think that's it for us. Do we open it up to questions from I forget the sequence. Questions from the public? Are there any questions from the public? I don't have access to
There's no hands.
no hands. Okay, so then we move it to
Discussion?
discussion then. Kenny?
And I'm here, you guys.
Oh, Dana, sorry about that.
No, I had no questions. So,
Okay, thank you for
okay.
chiming in. Kenny?
Dana, do you want to go first?
Sure.
Dan?
I mean, Lisa Staprins, good job. It's beautiful. I think the signage is gorgeous, and I'm really excited for it. So, good job. Beautiful.
Okay, thanks, Dana. Kenny?
I agree with Dana.
Gina?
Yes, I think it also looks nice. I'm inclined to it.
Yeah, I feel the same. It fits in really nicely with the whole design of the project. So,
Great.
so do we
So
move at this point?
I move to approve.
I'll second it.
Gina seconds and then roll call, please.
Commissioner Chung,
Yes.
Commissioner Dixon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Flynn,
Yes.
Commissioner Breen.
Yes.
Okay, motion approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let it go grab Carter.
No, I apologize, but I need to excuse myself to go feed my son. I was needed in order to have enough commissioners for.
Thank you, Kenny.
I'm coming. I was trying to make this thing get quiet.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Carter.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thanks.
Next item is architectural review, an application for trail work already done. I did. I did. Technical difficulty. 127 Pinion Drive. Come on up. Design team, you want to come to the table, please? Jake, would you start with the staff report, please? Jake?
Jake, you're muted.
Well, that doesn't help. Okay, thank you. Um, and can you see my screen okay for this one?
Yes.
Excellent, thank you. Well, thank you, Chair. My name is Jake Garcia. Again, I'm a consultant planner for the town, and I'll be presenting this item as well. The item before you tonight is a request for design review approval for proposed landscape improvements, including a pool, gazebo, patio, and landscape plantings, significant tree removal, site development permit, and a trail work completed without the benefit of a permit at 127 Pinnet. Before getting into the details of the project, I'd like to first take some time to walk you through the background of the project. In November of 2022, the applicant contacted the town with initial plans for the landscape enhancements, which encompass a new pool, pool pavilion, outdoor dining area, and landscaping. The applicant was advised that the project site has an active code enforcement case from October of 2021, which pertains to unauthorized site work that was carried out on the project site. In August of 2023, the applicant requested a conceptual design review by the ASCC to establish a clear understanding of what they can expect from the ASCC as they work on their formal application for design review, site development permit of the proposed project, and request for legalization of the site work conducted without the benefit of the necessary permits. In August of 2023, the ASCC reviewed the conceptual application for the project and provided feedback and direction to the applicant. The feedback was to prepare a revised landscape plan to accommodate restoration of the landscape surrounding the trail work and vegetation clearance, and to implement the recommendations from the Conservation Committee. The ASCC also advised from the trail work, the ASCC also advised that the trail work should be revised so that trails do not encroach into the required setbacks. That's the 50-foot front setback and the 20-foot side and rear setbacks. Finally, the ASCC appointed ASCC Commissioner Breen to an ad hoc subcommittee to continue working with the applicant team and Conservation Committee to provide feedback on the project revisions and to ensure that the revisions were in line with the direction provided by the ASCC at the time of conceptual design review. The applicant team has since worked with Commissioner Breen and the Conservation Committee to implement the suggested revisions and submitted a formal application to the town for review and consideration of approval. These are the plans before you tonight. I'll now continue with the presentation of the project. 127 Pinion consists of two parcels that are located west of Pinnon Drive. First parcel abuts Pinnon Drive via a flag lot driveway. This parcel is undeveloped except for the driveway which connects Pinnon Drive to the second parcel. The second parcel is where the existing residence and site improvements are located. Both parcels are located within the residential estate zoning district. These parcels are surrounded by parcels in the same zoning district to the north, west, and south, and Stanford University's Jasper Ridge Biological Reserve to the east. Parcels have an average slope of 34.7%, and the proposed pool gazebo and site improvements are located on the second parcel behind the existing main residence. And the site work done without the benefit of a permit is located upslope of the existing residence and spans along both parcels. Excuse me. So here's an existing site plan showing the location of the driveway on the front parcel connecting to the existing main resident on the second parcel. This is the survey of it prior to any work. And here's the plan showing the extent of the proposed work and the extent of the work done without the benefit of a permit. This project includes two components, and I'll go through each one separately. First is the proposed site improvements at the rear of the house. That's the pool, gazebo, patio, landscape plantings, significant tree removal, and site development permit. And second is a request to permit the trail work already completed without the benefit of the permits. The total amount of grading between the two project components is greater than 1,000 cubic yards and therefore requires final approval by the Planning Commission. Therefore, the ASCC's determination tonight would be consider recommending the project for approval by the Planning Commission. Starting with the proposed site improvements, the applicant proposes to construct a new pool, gazebo, and outdoor dining area at the rear of the residence on the adjacent hillside. The proposed pool is an infinity pool with a spillover edge anticipated to be 50 feet by 17 feet in size. The surrounding pool patio area is to be stone paving, matching other paved areas on site. Minor paths will be constructed above and below the main pool patio. The path above the pool patio will extend out to an existing clearing seating area, and the path below will connect the pool patio to the main residence. Proposed improvements are supported by retaining walls. The proposed gazebo is octagonal in shape and provides for a covered dining area, including an outdoor kitchen and a small storage area. Previous plans included a fireplace with the gazebo, but that has since been removed from the project. And here are the elevations of the proposed gazebo, showing all angles of the proposed structure. And here are the proposed materials. For the gazebo, this includes an AZEC TimberTech siding and a weathered teak finish and a slate roof. The patio will have stone veneer and bronze color railing to match the existing patio colors and materials. Here are the renderings associated with the proposed improvements to help better visualize the proposed component or the proposed part of the project. This slide shows the proposed landscaping at the patio area. Proposed project consists of 2,459 square feet of new landscaping, and the project proposes to utilize 67.34% of the maximum allowed water allowance. Further, the existing impervious surfaces on the site is 12,850 square feet, and this proposed project would increase the total impervious surface to 16,351 square feet, where there's a maximum allowed 23,200 square feet. There are two significant trees and one non-significant tree proposed for removal due to their location in the proposed patio and pool area. All three trees are post live oaks. And they're shown here on your screen, significant in red and non-significant in blue. Here's the exterior lighting plan. In green is the existing lighting. Red signifies proposed wall lights. Blue signifies the downlights in the gazebo, and yellow signifies the lighting in the pool, with two of those lights being in the lower pool trough where the spillover is located. Moving on to the second project component, the request for a permit for trail work already completed. The homeowners have completed site work without the benefit of a permit and will need to obtain permits for the work completed prior to the approval of any further work being permitted on site. The unpermitted work includes trail cuts throughout the two parcels upslope of the residence and driveway, and the project engineer has mapped the location of the trail work already completed, shown here on your screen. Since the ASCC last reviewed the project, the applicant team has worked with Commissioner Breen and the Conservation Committee to incorporate changes required by the ASCC so that the trails no longer encroach into the setback trail areas. On your screen in dark brown are areas of the trail that were previously that are currently located in the required setbacks and will be returned to a natural state with mulch, and the trail will be modified to add steps where there were previously switchbacks. And that very lowest brown area on this site plan will be where the trail stops on one end and will stop on the other. Where that area is mulched, there'll be two separate trails. Before leaving that slide, the applicants also included new plantings along the trail work to better screen from neighboring properties. Is also identified that there's a high number of invasive plant species and that the applicant should proactively work on a plan for removal. The applicants provided a 5-year weed abatement plan for the project site, and that was included as an attachment to the staff report. The town's conservation committee has reviewed the project and provided a set of comments to the applicant that provide extensive feedback and recommendations. So that's also an attachment to the staff report. In the Conservation Committee's comments, they include recommendations to review plans for any changes made to the landscape plantings, and the planting list will be updated to include, and they've also asked for the planting list to be updated to include planting information for plantings proposed along the trail work. Therefore, staff has identified a condition of approval to the project that would require the final landscape plan be reviewed by at least one member of the Conservation Committee and one member of the ASCC prior to building permit approval. This is condition number 4 to attachment 1, conditions of approval. This slide provides a breakdown of the proposed grading and grading done without the benefit of a permit. The combined total amount of grading is 1,190 cubic yards, and therefore the project must be approved by the Planning Commission since it surpasses the 1,000 cubic yard threshold. Notice of the public meeting was mailed to all neighbors within a 300-foot radius of the site on August 26th. The applicant has also conducted their own public outreach, and there was one public comment received today about 3:20 p.m. when everyone was heading to the site visit. I have sent that comment over to the ASCC in the 5 o'clock hour, actually just before this meeting. So if you'd like me to read it in the record, I'd be happy to, or if it's available there, we encourage you to read it into the record. And finally, staff recommends that the ASCC review the plans and staff report, consider public comments, offer feedback, and make a recommendation to the Planning Commission on whether to approve the proposed project, subject to the draft conditions of approval. That's the end of the staff presentation. Both staff and the applicant team are available for any questions that the ASCC may have. Thank you.
Jake, could you read that letter? I didn't get it.
Yes, of course. One moment. The letter says, the letter is from the neighbor at 145 Lysandra, Mark Holmes. And he stated, "Hi Jake, we understand the trails within 20 feet of the property line of 145 Lysandra Way. Or I'm sorry, we understand," and then bulleted list the trails within 20 feet of the property line of 145 Lysandra Way, the Switchback Hill Trail bordering 145 Lysandra Way, and the flattened area bordering 145 Lysandra Way and 150 Lysandra Way at the top of the Switchback Trail will be returned to their original condition. And upon this understanding, my family and I have no objection to the application. Thank you, the Holmes family.
Okay, thank you. Design team, you have something else to say besides what you told us this afternoon, or, Okay. Thank you. Is there any questions, of either staff or the applicant from the ASCC?
Yeah, a quick clarification. The last comment from the neighbor was 145 Lysandra. So which property is that? Because when I look at the landscape plan, I see a 187 and a 188. I'm looking at
So
L7.
this is the property at the end of Lysandra Way. Let me see if I can get you a site plan.
187, maybe it's labeled 187 perhaps.
Is it on the plans that you're referencing that it's labeled 187?
It's not at the end. It's about three quarters of the way up on the left. And his property was down on one of the major turns. There was a place to sit, which was eliminated.
Oh, this.
I'm going to share my screen just so you can see the reference property. So here are the two parcels associated with 127 Pinnan, and then ups. Oh,
We're not seeing a map, Jake.
Okay, 1 second.
I feel better now.
Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Thank you. So these two parcels here, the larger parcels with this flag access driveway is 127 Pinnon, and the highlighted parcel here at the end of the cul-de-sac of Lysandra Way is 145 Lysandra.
Yeah, could you show us the overall, site plan, from BKF? Because I think it has those parcels on it too.
Sure.
Yeah, it's kind of like. No, BKF's title sheet, not the. Line keeps crashing.
Okay, it's labeled 188, 188 on the landscape plan. I thought this one was up once more.
Yeah. Those are from the map, so it's not that. Okay. Okay. Questions of the applicant, and staff? Dina?
I don't really have a question.
Okay.
I just had one quick question was, is there any plan to detail some of the additional shrubs that the Conservation Committee requested? Just to have a few clumps of shrubs on the hillside?
Yeah, yes, they're already detailed on the planting plan, I believe, or actually on the trails plan, L7.
Well, those are for the big trees I see, right, for the switchback, but it seems to me that the conservation had asked it for a few.
There's Garia elliptica, because it's successful on site, right?
Yes.
It's mostly
Okay.
around the generator and the propane tank.
Okay. That's it.
Okay. Okay, I'll open this to the public. Being no public here, actually, Nona, go ahead. Come to one of these microphones.
I'm Nona Chariello. I'm a member of the Conservation Committee, and I've had the pleasure of reviewing the plans for this, I think 3 times now, and working with the team. And I guess I just want to emphasize something that we all saw today, which is that this property is an amazing property, and it embodies 4 of the most difficult vegetation challenges that we have in Portola Valley. So there's the risk of erosion, which was the initial concern when we heard about the trail work. There's the risk of invasive species. There's the risk of fire, and there's the risk of woody tree death as a result of the trail work. So this property has really the nexus of all of the major problems that we see in town in terms of managing vegetation. And the important thing to recognize is that they're interrelated. So as you have erosion, you have substrate for invasive plants to establish. Many of those invasive plants, like Detrichia, are extremely flammable as well as being very invasive. And once you have a steep slope, then you have spread of invasive species. In addition, I think we saw today that there are some trees that have died potentially as a result of drought, although we've had 2 very wet years. So it's conceivable that that too is a result of the trail work. I came into this project thinking that this was an extreme amount of trail work. And as I've thought about it over time, I've seen this landscape take shape in a way such that the trails can actually serve as fire breaks. And if they are maintained carefully, and if the invasive species are maintained, and if the banks of those trails are maintained with allowing some of the shrubs to regrow, all of the shrubs on the site that we saw today are native. So that's a really great thing. But I think it's going to take sort of a view of the landscape as a whole to see it come together in a way that those vegetation challenges are managed. And I really appreciate the responses that we've had from the team in terms of getting the picture and understanding what this will take. So I think it has been a win-win in that sense. I think going forward, though, we need to sort of stay attuned to how the landscape develops over time. And so I would just ask that, I don't know what the inspection schedule is for a property like this and a project like this. And I appreciate that most of the inspections are really related to the pool project itself and not to the surrounding landscape. But I would suggest that there be some additional inspections, mainly just sort of give the owners and the team a heads up when things are going well and when they might not be. So I think that's our main concern. There is a secondary concern, which is that below the project, the property drains into Jasper Ridge. And so that swale really has to be protected from invasive species moving from the project site where we know they are, the invasive, even the Detrichia is in that lower part of the property, to make sure that those don't get carried into a biological preserve. So I want to thank the team for being very cooperative on working through all these questions. And also thank you for kind of reshaping some of the thinking of the Conservation Committee itself in terms of how to think about trails as a mechanism for having breaks in vegetation that reduce the spread of fire potentially.
Thank you. Any other public comment, either in the room or online? Adrian? Okay. We'll pull this back to the ASCC. So the public hearing is closed. Gina, would you start, please?
Well, I was going to bring up something with lighting, but I don't want to steal Dana's thunder.
Okay.
I was just gonna make the comment, we're often looking at lighting pretty closely, but just there's not a ton of lighting here or anything, but just thinking about the lighting at the steps, there's sort of, I don't know, Jake, maybe would you be able to pull up the lighting plan just so I'm not blindly babbling? Just thinking at the lighting along the wall that the steps come down against, and that it might be helpful actually to take the 3 lights on the new stairs. There's 2, and then there's one actually below, and maybe slide that one that's below back so it's at the bottom tread. You actually have that condition on the other side, but might make for a little safer situation at the bottom of the steps there. And the other thing I was just gonna ask is whether all of the lights that are on the exterior of the pavilion are necessary. Because there's 1, 2, there's the 4 on there. Those are kind of
Those are step lights. Those are,
on the pavilion. Are they high or low?
they're low.
Or low ones? Okay.
Yeah, they're the wall puck
Okay,
lights.
so that's
Okay.
helpful.
Great.
Thanks for clarifying, Carter.
No problem.
I think I like the gazebo. I think it's a nice design. It works well with the existing house. And it's nice, just being out on the site and seeing the level that the pool is going to be at. We were kind of standing above there. I mean, it's hopeful that it's already pretty flat. It's coordinating with, a little bit lower level so that it sits in the side a bit better. That's one of my main comments.
Great. Rebecca?
For the main project with the pool and the gazebo, I think it's lovely. The finishes are great. They match the house. The team's done a good job of fitting it into the landscape, so I don't have any issues there. For the trail project, in at least one of those switchbacks, the dirt, and I mentioned it to someone, the dirt was pushed down and filled against one of the oak trees. And so I think the team needs to get that dirt away from the trunk. Otherwise, you're going to eventually lose that tree. So I think if there's situations like that on the trails, and I don't know that I saw them at other places, but the first one in particular, there was an issue there. I know we talked about this a little bit in the meeting about this idea of pushing the trails switchbacks away from the property line. And I know in the past, it has been the recommendation of Portola Valley not to have a trail come right up against a fence line. But that recommendation was really in reference to whether or not it was imposing on a neighbor in such a way that you wouldn't be able to screen that trail from the neighbor. In this particular property, it's in quite different situation because you're up against, on one side, Jasper Ridge. You don't really have a neighbor. There's not a person that's impacted by some of those switchbacks. And then only in an area where the neighbor who commented was concerned about, was there an issue? And then we talked about a little bit the last two switchbacks, particularly the absolute last one where you have one trail ending and the next trail starting. It's sort of a wacky kind of idea. It didn't really make too much sense to me that practically that's not really going to happen in real life. So in that situation, I don't see the need to have that switchback removed, the very last one. I would recommend putting a tree there just to provide a little bit more screening in the case that the uphill trees suffer in some way. And then otherwise, I think the idea of what you've done for the screening for some of the switchbacks, for moving them a little bit away from the Lysandra properties, I think you've done a really nice plan for that. And then the other thing is I want to get confirmation from Nona again, because we talked about this as we walked around. I'm concerned about the banks being maintained, and there's some steep areas that the trail cuts through. And it seems that the best way to stabilize those banks is to have some small perennial bushes, on occasional spots. Whether those are plant themselves, that I don't know if that will happen, or if whether the applicant actually has to plant a few of them, that I would recommend you talk to Nona and her team to see whether or not a few areas where it's particularly steep and where the banks are not 100% stable, whether they need some more plants. So that would be my recommendation, is to confirm that where a few of those plants would be necessary to protect the banks from erosion. Otherwise, I think it's a lovely, beautiful site.
Dana?
Hi, as you guys know, I've worked on this for a long time on this project with the Epstein team. And, quite frankly, I mean, the most important things are the the access to the swimming pool and the building site. And, how is that going to be dealt with in terms of the, invasive species and how it's going to be repaired. But this team totally gets it. This team is aware of the trichia issues, of all the other, invasive issues. They're aware that the water feeds into Jasper Ridge. I mean, for them, I mean, they're living on this gorgeous site, and it's to their benefit that that meadow ends up being just impeccably gorgeous. So they get it. I've talked to the team. I feel really confident moving forward with this group. And also they need to get going. They need to get going, or they're going to lose another year. And so, I mean, I want this to go to the planning commission ASAP so that they can break ground and get started. I don't have any problem with the trail and all of that stuff that happened. If you look at, I mean, all you have to do is walk a property like this to see what's growing on it. We don't need to be adding new perennials and new shrubs. We see that there are gorgeous Garrya elliptica along the trails there. There are a few other gorgeous things. I don't think we want to interrupt that. This is almost a native site. So, I don't want to be polluting it with other stuff. So, I think that the pool site alone is wonderful. They can do their thing and make it all pretty. But other than that, I think that the project should pretty much be left alone. And I'm really pleased with it. I want to see this thing get approved and move on to the planning commission.
Thank you, Dana.
You're welcome.
Okay. My comments are these. I support the pool project. I think it makes, total sense. It's, well located, it's well designed, and I too like the gazebo. The trails, as I started to talk about, on site, I think that they were well constructed by, a good trail builder. There are a couple things, with the, dirt up against the tree on that first corner. Coming up from, the future, pool area, that should be corrected. I support what you're, applying to do. I think it's more than what's necessary by, pulling, all the way away from, the property lines, behind the setbacks. As from my point of view, it wouldn't be required, but I support your design the way it's proposed, tonight. There's one area on the trails, that, as I was walking back along, the road and looking at, the perspective, from, the houses, across the way, up on Ramoso, that I do think, would need some landscape improvements, to rehabilitate. And it's the big zigzag, that zigzags down above the generator. That hill beforehand, was a pretty big open nose, of mostly grass. And, it's the one thing, that I think isn't being, attended to with the landscape. And I do think, some maybe a little more significant planting, that would break up the zigzag lines, as they come down the slope. I think would be, an appropriate mitigation, for the trail, because that's the only place, that I think the trail actually looks a bit like a scar. The rest of the trails, fit really nicely into the topography, and, hide themselves, hide the inclinations, in the trees. I'm not exactly sure how to deal with Nona's, concerns about inspections. I think we can probably find a way to, follow through with that. I want to commend the owners, for the ownership of the property, for building the trails. I think trails, are a tremendous way, to preserve, open space. Provides access to help maintain them. A lot of these steep slopes, are so inaccessible because there aren't trails, that it's very difficult to get crews in to do, the quarterly or the, once a year kind of cleanups. And, I've been supportive in the open space district, of more trails to gain more access, to areas. So there aren't as many big plots, of wildland vegetation. And I think that, Jasper Ridge is one of those big plots of, of massive vegetation that has got no management or very little, until, quite recently. But I think what you're doing, and the trails I think are really exquisite. And I like them a lot. So, except for my comment about some additional, landscape treatment, as you look at that zigzag hill above the generator, I really support the project as proposed. Is there a motion to make a recommendation, to the planning commission for approval? As while this qualifies for, for a bunch of grading, it doesn't feel like it. There wasn't much. Even though, because these are cut and fill trails. You cut a little bit and fill a little bit. And I think they're really beautiful.
Well, I guess I make a motion to approve the project with the requirement to work with the Conservation Committee on that, some additional landscaping for the zigzag above the generator. And if the applicant chooses to change the lights in a minor way for that staircase to increase safety, I would leave that to the applicant.
Yeah, I
And-
don't know if that needs to be part of it. It was more just.
And then how do you want to deal with this last switchback? This one is not,
Well, right now it's being proposed. I'm not suggesting that we're changing that project. The project, our recommendation, because they've applied for this, is to approve it. My personal feeling, and I would support a motion that says that you don't have to. But at this point, I think it's most appropriate to respond to what the applicant has applied for, rather than, changing their project. So I think that, we have the ability to, to add, some level of landscaping on the big zigzags. And then, provide some commentary that maybe the planning commission, will hear or not, regarding, some of those switchbacks that aren't up against the neighbor and aren't providing any privacy problems and, and are, are well constructed kind of the way they are.
how would you recommend that the applicant team present that then to the
Well,
planning commission?
to me, from my, point of view, if they decided to, withdraw some of those abandonments, in the areas that aren't of controversy, I'd support that. But, in trying to make an action tonight, I'm more inclined to approve and recommend the planning commission approval of what's been applied for.
Okay, I mean, can we do two things? Can we approve this with the requirement to work with conservation for the landscaping?
Yeah.
And then get that over the fact, and then also approve the idea that
Sure.
some of the switchbacks could be, left as is.
I think so. I think the stairway is kind of weird. You know, and cutting those off. I think it actually is adding structure where, you know, where you don't need structure.
Well, I guess the concern is whether or not, without the stairs, and I'm not saying the applicant would do this, but it leaves it available for an ATV to come zooming around the.
Oh, but yeah, at the same time, you know, I don't think these are ATV trails. I mean, they don't.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So I'll remake a motion to approve this as it is with the addition of some minor landscaping on the very steep switchback area above the propane tank.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Roll call.
Aye.
Commissioner Dixon? Yes. Vice Chair Flynn?
Yes.
Chair War?
Yes.
Commissioner Breen?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And then should I make a second motion to give the applicant, if they chose, to leave some of the switchbacks that are not affecting the neighbors as is, as originally drawn, if they choose to present that?
I support that.
We need a second?
Do we need to do that?
Well, you know, Dana, I think that, you know, on the site walk today, I for sure felt like, you know, the cutting off of the switchbacks and doing the stairs, you know, as a remediation, you know, was adding structure in places that I didn't think, you know, was, you know, a good idea. I thought the switchbacks, you know, the way that they were, you know, constructed, even though they, you know, some of them were, you know, in the setbacks, didn't give me a problem. I mean, they were just like regular open space trails. I mean, they were well thought out. They're, you know, exactly cut and fill balanced. There wasn't any cuts that were very big, and there weren't any fills that were very big either. You know, and
Okay, I'm not trying to get in the way. I'm trying to facilitate.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if you don't mind.
sure, Terrence.
Staff understands your concerns about this issue, and without a motion or a vote, we can convey this in the staff report to the planning commission. So, we understand that what you're looking for is to allow the applicant to have the option of leaving those areas that encroach into the setback in the case where it doesn't affect other properties. We can convey that information to the planning commission. You don't have to go through a motion process unless you really want to.
I think we should go through a motion process.
Okay, no problem.
So this would only apply to the first two and the last two?
Yeah.
Um,
Because there's only,
Yeah, because these two we need the screening, and that one needs to be eliminated at the very top, the one with the patio thing.
so what would be, we don't have.
The ones along Jasper Ridge, the first two there, and then the ones along the 189, labeled 189, the last two.
Okay.
So I make the motion that the ASCC is open to the applicant maintaining their switchbacks close to the property line for the first two and the last two.
I second that.
All in favor? Roll call vote?
Commissioner Dixon? Yes. Vice Chair Flynn?
Yes.
Chair War?
Yes.
Commissioner Breen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the next item. Yes, Dana? Okay, any commission reports?
No.
Staff reports?
Yep, just a few brief items. First one, not much to update on the housing element. I did reach out to the staff member through the enforcement division of HCD who's been managing our housing element compliance. Just to follow up with him, see if there was any news. He told me he was going to get back to the town with a response early last week, and he did not. So I will try again, and we'll keep at it. Because this is such a new part of the law, they don't actually have a statutory requirement to get back to us, within 30 or 60 days.
Why wouldn't it be?
Why wouldn't it be this-
Governed under the same, Permit Streamlining Act, as anything else?
I'm not sure, but unfortunately, we can't lean on a maximum day limit. So we're just trying to be persistent, but anyways, that's sort of where we're at. So we'll continue to try to get a response, a formal response. Item number 2, I just wanted to let the ASCC know that consulting planner Jake Garcia, who joined us this evening, he's done a lot of work for the town. He's going to be stepping back from his role with the town to pursue just a broader experience and work in some other jurisdictions. He isn't departing immediately, so he is going to be doing some mentoring of our other consultant planners through Good City. But I do want to thank Jake for his fantastic work with the town. He's taught me a lot as I've transitioned out of my housing element role and into current planning. So it's been wonderful to have him, and we wish him the best. And again, glad that he's not taking off immediately. He will be around and act as a resource to us. So thank you, Jake.
Thank you, Jake.
Thirdly, another personnel item. I'm expecting a baby mid next month, so I will be going on maternity leave as of September 6th. So this is actually my last ASCC meeting for now. I anticipate coming back in early March, so I'll be gone for around 6 months. So I will actually pass it over to interim planning and building manager, director, Terrence Grindall, to talk a little bit more about staffing.
Great.
Chair, members of the commission, I'm Terrence Grindall, I'm the interim planning and building director. We're, as you're, I'm sure aware, we've been dealing with some significant issues in our building permit issuance process because of staffing that was lost and experience that was lost in that process. We are continuing to work towards that. We have started just today. We had a consultant come in that was very experienced in our permits tracking software. So the Yvette is here with us, helping us to deal with the backlog and to solve our problems and hopefully also to recommend streamlining of our process so we can be even more quick in moving forward than we were before this sort of meltdown happened. In addition, I would like to inform the commission that we have hired a permanent senior permit engineer. It's going to start on the 6th of September. So we are in the process of staffing up on those issues. So we're expecting to be able to start seeing some major progress in that. But by the way, that gentleman's name is Gabriel. So he'll be starting in a permanent role as a senior permit technician.
So he's replacing Carol?
It's in the same position, yes. In addition, we're hiring. We have an announcement out for an assistant assistant or associate planner. We'll be able to choose based on the applicants and their experiences and the fit with the town, whether or not it's an assistant or an associate level. And so that announcement is out. So if you know anyone who's interested, please send them to the website to consider an application. If they need questions, I'm happy to talk with them too. In addition, John Biggs, who you guys have known for some time, is continuing to help the town as an extra help, and he's focused. A laser focus on trying to solve the building permit backlog issues and the process issues. I'm going to be managing all other projects in the entitlement process. So just to let you know, that's sort of how things are breaking down. So if it's a permit issue, John's going to be taking the lead on that. Otherwise, I'll be handling all those issues. With that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
I do. I have a question. There was some discussion in the finance committee or some such, that the town is considering transitioning to having their planner be an outside consultant. I guess we had this system back when we had Tom Vlasic. So do you have any information about how that would work?
We're still formulating what the recommendation would be. That's an idea that's been talked about. We'd want to look at it. I think consulting out for most of the planning activity is possible, but I do think the town needs to have a director that can address policy issues and other questions. So someone who is more attuned to what's going on in the town. That's our recommendation. That's what we're thinking at this point. To literally farm out a consultant to be the director is probably not the best course, but we're going to look at all options.
Thank you.
Can I say something to Adrian?
Yeah, go ahead, Dana.
Adrian, I know how tough it's been. I mean, sitting across from you all of these months, and I want to say just how excited I am for you. I think it's going to be so cool to have a baby.
It's actually my third, so.
Well, you know,
Yeah.
but coming up.
Yeah, thank
Coming up.
you, Dana. Thank you for that. I appreciate
And
it.
also, and for Jake and I didn't intersect all that much, but just thank you, Jake. You know, you guys have done a great job.
Anything else?
Nope.
I would also, well, I was just gonna say, I've worked with Jake some as well, and Jake, good luck. It's been great coordinating with you. If he's still there. If not.
Yes, thank you, commissioners. I appreciate it. It's very kind. It's a pleasure working with you all as well. And yeah, I hope that it's a smooth transition as we get more staff trained up and getting things moving forward.
Thank you, Jake.
Thank you.
Okay. Hearing no other business, we'll adjourn the meeting.
No, we've got minutes.
Oh, we do have minutes?
Yeah.
I didn't see any.
They're long.
I couldn't get to,
You just had to get through 100 something pages first.
it keeps crashing.
Mine kept crashing too. So I never got that far.
Well, I had 3 comments about the minutes,
Go
so.
ahead.
So on page 177, red 177, I'm listed as making the comment, Vice Chair Flynn proposed the possibility of implementing a requirement that 75% of the area be left open to allow residents the freedom to plant small apple trees or vegetable gardens, thereby reducing restrictions. I don't know what that 75% of the area referred to at this point. I don't remember, but that's a weird way of whatever was I actually said. So I'm not sure how to correct that. 75% of what area? The LAR, is that what it was referring to maybe?
I think the only way is to jump into the recording and try to find you saying that. Verify. I'm not, I can't recall either.
Next point.
Okay, so just say the requirement that the landscaped area be left open or something.
That's sufficient.
Yeah.
Sheffield?
So, and then page 179, I remember we had a slight discussion about this, but at the very last line, Commissioner Dixon, ending the sentence after material shall be permeable, impervious. What? I don't know, was that the way it was written originally? Do you see the last line on page 179?
Well,
It can't be
yeah.
both.
No.
Permeable.
Material shall be permeable.
Right.
Yeah, so I think maybe, yeah, that could be reworded. The other thing I was just gonna add is, I was looking at that same thing on 179, and I think it says materials appear to be objective, but I think I would think that it's subjective, how it's written. Got it.
Mhm. And then page 181, Christy Corley's comment. Questioned whether designating open space on the second floor or above would reduce the actual open space. I don't know what that means. I don't know what she was saying there.
Okay. All right, let me look into that one. Thank you.
Okay, that's it.
That's the April 8th.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Is there a motion to approve the April 8th meeting?
I make a motion to approve the April 8th meeting with those 3 changes.
I'll second it.
Roll call?
Commissioner Dixon,
Yes.
Vice Chair Flynn,
Yes.
Chair War,
Yeah.
Commissioner Breen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to the minutes of June 10th.
Yeah, I recuse myself from that one.
What page number does it start
190.
on? Thank you.
I was recused for.
Well, I'm really on my own here.
Oh, we don't have enough then for, we'll have to put that aside. We don't have enough 1, 2, right?
Oh,
Mm,
abstentions
yeah.
go with the majority.
Oh, is that how it works? Oh,
So we've got Dana and Dana, and we started with, we've got a majority. You can't vote, because you didn't vote. So the 3 of us can vote. Okay, Dana,
I feel badly that I didn't study them, but I would move to approve these minutes.
okay? Is there a second? I can second it.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Commissioner Dixon,
Yes.
Chair War,
I abstain.
Commissioner Breen.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now we can adjourn. 7:16.
All right, thank you.